Hello everybody, I'm Meso, and welcome to some more exciting news about hashtag 14B2020, or I suppose 14B2020 would be more accurate. This is going to be a big one, because a lot's gone down on April 1st, 2020. Just as a little bit of a preface note, this is not an April Fool's joke. This video will release in the morning of the 2nd, so that should be painfully obvious. But just in case anybody's wondering or saying, but Faber talked about it on April 1st. It's an April Fool's joke. Number one, he announced the thing last year on April 1st. So this has nothing to do with April Fools. Just because it's coming on that date this year. It's the 1-year anniversary. Second, he posted a literal second post saying hashtag 14B2020 is not an April Fool's joke. And third, I don't blame you at all for saying that, because marketing your thing on April 1st is very questionable. But I digress. It's not an April Fool's joke. It's real. I'm going to give y'all a brief summary of what went down, and then I'm going to talk about it. I fully expect we'll talk about this more on a podcast, maybe a Knack and Jay in the coming days, but I want to give my thoughts now to let you guys know what's going on before we actually do that video. So, Christian Faber made a post on the 31st of March on Instagram saying, why? Hashtag 14B2020. The frustrating, fragile, hopeful, cryptic, nerdy, opportunity, and risk. 2020 Central European Time, 1st of April 2020. Which translated to 2:20 Eastern Time in the US. And when that time came, he did a live stream on April 1st that he did on his Instagram. So you can actually view it on his Instagram story, but if you don't want to use Instagram or you don't have Instagram, plenty of people have put it on YouTube. By this point, from I'm sure at least one person by the name of King Sidorak uploaded it, and I will link his video in the description below. It in total ran for about 38 minutes. Basically, here's a summary. He said, number one, that the hashtag of 14B2020, everybody thought it referred to April 1st, which it obviously did, because that's when he did the live stream. But he did reveal the full meaning, and it's not something grandiose. It's kind of funny, actually, but from his own words, it stands for one person, aka him, for BIONICLE, or something like it, in 2020. So, there you go. It is 14B2020, and it quite literally means Faber alone, himself, is really pushing for BIONICLE to happen, or something like it. Kind of anticlimactic, but that is what it is. And he mentioned that it was a personal deadline to set April 1st, 2020, as a date for him. He wanted to motivate his creativity. He wanted to set that deadline for himself to say, by this time next year, because he announced it in 2019, he wanted to have a pitch done. He wanted to have some work done on this thing. And as a creator who's been involved in projects before, I respect having a personal deadline for yourself to motivate your creativity. But you all might be wondering, what is this thing? What was the purpose of this live stream? Because Faber's been teasing stuff cryptically for a year. This is the first time he's ever said, hey, tune in, this time, this place, this day, we're going to talk about it. So everybody went into this thing expecting that we would finally get some details on what this thing was. But, we didn't. We did not get any details about what this thing was. From his own words, he said that he would have likely had more to show because he had several meetings lined up, and hopefully he was going to learn stuff during those meetings and then be able to share it with all of us finally, but coronavirus, which is currently sweeping the nation, COVID-19, delayed or canceled a lot of those meetings. So the project has been put into temporary hibernation, in his own words. It's not canceled. but he's waiting, on things to get better before he can really make any progress with it. And I believe that wholeheartedly. I see a lot of people tossing it around like, oh, is that really the case? Did he really have stuff lined up, or is he just trying to cover for the fact that he didn't have anything to show? I fully believe that he did have things in the pipeline that got reshuffled. Coronavirus has drastically altered life as we know it right now. It makes total sense. People are saying, why couldn't he have just held them online? And that's a fair point, but it depends on the kind of meeting with the kind of company, none of which he's disclosing. I would imagine taking new pitches for new projects probably isn't in any company's mind right now so much as trying to survive in this turbulent time is. Survive both in terms of, their lives and also in terms of their company's, profitability and whatnot, because the economy is kind of exploding. So I firmly believe that. He used the coronavirus symbol in his post and in the slides he used on his live stream. And at first I was irate because I was like, is he trying to work this global tragedy into his project? And I was gonna if I flay him alive if that ended up being the case, but no, the reasons are make perfect sense that he was using that little clip art thing because that's what's currently put a hold on everything. I accept that. So what else was talked about? He did say a few things, a few choice quotes that I took the liberty of transcribing for anyone who doesn't really want to watch the video or just isn't that interested. I'll put the quotes in the description, but I'll also read a few here because essentially he said he was not going to have anything concrete to show on this front today. To which you might ask, why bother doing a live stream in general? I would agree, but for what it's worth, he did confirm it is totally separate from Rebel Nature, which he has said before. He said he has good news and bad news being the coronavirus delay. Then he proceeded to show a few slides. The first slide said, "The journey starts now." And he said, "This is the most extreme time I've ever experienced. The rest of the world can't really compare to anything. Before Corona, I was kind of having the same feeling that this was a turning point, but it got really emphasized, not in a good way. I feel like 2020 is the cross point in the middle. We're right in the center there." And he showed another slide that basically boiled down to, the past, the future, right now, and then, me and you. We're basically at the crossroads. He said we have a lot of choices. We also have a lot of deep decisions and responsibilities. We need to see the connections between everything. Slide number 2, he pulled up, basically just showing, this is a leap of faith. That's what he said. And then he pulled up this chart about the evolution of storytelling, essentially emphasizing the root of world building and how it's going in terms of, telling stories. He showed up a silver Ignica and he said, "This is a prototype print of the Mask of Life." He had this great quote. He said, "If you remember Matoro going down through the shaft, the mask dissolves the whole body and he becomes the energy in the mask. And then stuff happens, but what's on the other side is really difficult to tell." I'm not really sure what he was getting at with that, but it's a very good quote. Stuff happens. The Bionicle story. He goes on to say there would be a slide here where I'd tell you about really, really, really cool meetings that were canceled because of Corona, cool partners that are possible to work with, but I'm not going to mention or say anything because you'll start, rioting and doing theories about it. I'm like one guy trying to punch a little hole in this wall so we can start moving things. He mentioned that somebody in the chat said, Bionicle confirmed, and he said, no, it's in progress and really, really early. This is the first day of the journey, and that is what I predicted 1 year ago. So for all those people who were expecting him to launch something today, he's re-clarifying, saying that no, that was a personal deadline for myself to get this thing going. Today marks the beginning of the journey. He goes on to say, all the people who've cared for this story and this universe, I have invited into this next phase. I've heard comments about how, oh, multiple people are going to all write stories. You know, we don't want that. We want a singular canon. But this new thing is going to be totally different. To what I gather from that is that he's saying the storytelling of whatever this thing will not necessarily be traditional. Those of us expecting the Bionicle way of a singular guided story with a bunch of rules and stuff may not necessarily get what we want, because it does not seem like Faber prizes that heavily. He wanted to talk about the bricks, like the Bionicle pieces out there, and how they're very, very valuable, but they'll never be made again. He mentioned how the ball joint has too much oil. How it will, it will never happen again, but it makes the ones that are already in existence very, very precious. Very priceless. He said, in 2000, when Bionicle came out, you were the consumers. The consumers were handed something, and you took it, and you bought it, and everything was good. This is a new model. It is not about that you get the full package. You should get the ticket. And actually, that's how I feel. This guy standing in a really scrappy boat in the harbor and trying to put stuff on it so it looks safe. And I'm trying to invite people on board because this is a journey, and I don't know what's at the end of the horizon. He mentions how he's cryptic. He says all the comments, thoughts, good and bad reviews so far is exactly the fuel this project is going to need. Another great quote. I will say this, in the long run, the original Bionicle story with the brain thing that happened to me in 86, I used that inspiration for something that was done in 2000, and then stuff happened. I'm just saying, if something has to be good, it's really sort of navigating for opportunity. If you force this through, I don't think it's going to have the right energy. You might notice I'm just rattling off a bunch of quotes. That's basically all the stream was. We're basically at the end. For the rest of the stream, he had people come in. He brought on fans to talk about, world building, storytelling. Some guy showed him a mock. He talked about the mock and how creative it was. It was pretty wholesome. I'm not going to lie, but that's really where it ends. So you may wonder to yourself, you've been listening to, Meso, I've been listening to you talk for 12 minutes. What's the news? I hate to tell you guys, but there really isn't any news. And now here we get into my thoughts. This was a very delicious, very tasty double cheese nothing burger. Well done. Let me just clarify, my stance on this a lot. I respect Faber wanting to do something. It's very clear that he has a lot of passion. He wants to do something, and I don't really think it matters to him whether it's Bionicle or something new that carries on the spirit of Bionicle. Dude's a creator. The dude is passionate, and he likes interacting with the fans, and he likes interacting with the community, and he wants to create. I don't think the details matter quite as much to him as they matter to us. Because for him, it's about the spirit, it's about the passion, it's about the energy, it's about the themes. We're the ones in the community who are concerned with the details. And I think that's where there's a disconnect, because he's been posting these cryptic things, we've been wanting details. He finally talks about it in the public eye in an extended fashion, only to not give any details. He says it's because he can't. He has meetings lined up. And I do respect that, because if he does have a pitch for something that he's trying to pitch to multiple companies, and he doesn't want to talk about it publicly out of fear that people might use his ideas or spread his ideas around before they have a time to develop and actually reach the audience he's intending to reach to get this thing made, that makes sense. That makes total sense from a business perspective. It's not like we received the full initial story pitch for Bionicle, back in the day before LEGO approved it. This stuff's handled behind closed doors, and then we as consumers get the product. That being said, I must ask the question, if you don't have anything to show, why do anything publicly? And it should be noted, at the very end of the stream, he said, I'm done with the cryptic posts. The next time I talk about this, it will either be a thumbs up, this is happening, or a thumbs down, this is not happening. So for that, you know, that's whatever. But I was very unimpressed by the stream. I'm gonna be real. I had no expectations, so it's not like it fell short. I actually made like a parody post in the TTV patron chat about what I thought this would be, and it's actually funny how close how close it actually was. You know, it was something along the lines of, you know, "Ah, yes, friends, thank you all for your support during this time. You know, your passion and your creativity will be the fuel that we need to get this thing through and to make this happen. I look forward to sailing this sea with you all, and I'm confident that our maiden voyage will end with our canister falling ashore on the sandy beach of dreams, ready to take root and grow into something beautiful." Essentially, you know, poking fun at the verbiage and the general, you know, verbosity that Faber displays. And that's basically what the stream was. It reflected his passion very clearly. It did not give anyone any clue what this will be. However, you can read in a few things from what he says, if you are so inclined. A few choice quotes do kind of paint a picture. Namely, that big one that he said about the product. Essentially saying that when BIONICLE came out, you were the consumers. The consumers were handed something, and you took it, and you bought it, and everything was good. This is a new model. Essentially saying it's not the old model. What I take from that maybe you guys don't, is there won't be traditional products. Like, it will not be as simple as, you buy this is the thing, you make it successful. And that, I think, is reinforced by his statements about the ball joints and the BIONICLE pieces. I don't think Faber's interested in making Lego sets. That is what I have gathered from this. And likewise about the story, how he mentioned how he does not really, you know, he's not really interested too much in one specific type of canon, you know, and whatnot. You mentioned that this new thing is going to be totally different. It sounds like his approach to storytelling is going to be different too. In what manner, we don't know. But I think it's very fair to say at this point, for anyone still living in the fantasy world, that this is going to be a continuation to BIONICLE G1 that will deal with Spherus Magna and the unresolved plot points. Abandon that dream now. It is not that. And likewise, I would take it a step further and say that if you are hoping that LEGO is going to reboot BIONICLE under Faber's visage, I also don't think that is the case, because it does not sound like he is too interested in LEGO products, or at least not ones made in the traditional, you know, sense, ball and sockets, you know, plastic, etc. Perhaps if there was a new material used to create the pieces, maybe Faber would be more into that, but it's not his speed. It's not what he's about. So the BIONICLE that we know is not what this is going to be. Faber's looking at a way to evolve the concept. And I think, just like I've always said, his mistake has been not communicating that goal to the BIONICLE fandom. Because people expect, you know, they're very fanatical about a particular thing to the point where whenever it's revealed what this actually is and it does not meet those preconceived expectations, people are going to riot and he's going to lose the support that he's built up. Whereas if he was more transparent with people, perhaps they'd be more understanding. Like, I'm totally willing to be down for a spiritual successor to BIONICLE. I don't really care if there's Lego sets or not. If it follows similar theming and maybe a similar aesthetic, and it's just a story, heck yeah, I'm down. By one of the creators, the dude who came up with the whole idea. Like, that sounds cool to me. As a BIONICLE fan in 2020, an adult who's just, you know, carrying the torch for BIONICLE, bring it on. I'm totally down. But there are people out there who will not be interested unless there are Lego sets already today. And the Reddit, and some Discord servers, like BZ Power's Discord server, and our own Discord server, I've seen tons of people going like, if there are no Lego sets, I'm out. That's all I'm interested in. It's not BIONICLE without the Lego sets. And you might say that's a narrow-minded viewpoint, but people are totally, like, willing to, they're fine to believe that. BIONICLE was the Lego sets. That was the product. That was the core. The story was a vessel used to advertise those sets. So, viewing a physical product as intrinsic with what Bionicle is and was isn't wrong. Getting upset that that's not what this might be is not wrong. I believe that it is a matter of checking expectations, but I think if Faber were more clear with his vision, I think it would mitigate a lot of people's expectations. Maybe their hype wouldn't get raised, because I see a lot of people, even some people in our patron chat, essentially saying that Faber is succeeding in his goal. He's getting hype. Getting hype proves there's an audience, and the audience can be used to leverage his pitch to other companies like Lego or anybody else to say, hey, people are interested in this. People want this thing. And that getting this hype created is working because he's proving that people want what he's selling. But the problem with that is he's creating short-term hype. He's creating hype that will not last, because he's creating hype around a concept that many different people have many different interpretations of what it means to them. You ask somebody, what does Bionicle mean to you? The mockists are going to say it's the pieces. The lore junkies are going to say it's the story. For me, it's the media. Stuff like Minogue, stuff like the commercials, the atmosphere is what's most important to me about Bionicle. Some people it's the games. There are people out there, some people say it's the collectability of the freaking masks from 2001, even though that was only a thing for like 3 years. That to a lot of people is core to the Bionicle brand. You get people like spinning up about Bionicle coming back. Everybody's gonna have a different thing that they want. And if Faber only delivers on like one portion of it, he's going to lose all those people who were essentially following him only for the hope that their particular thing might be represented. Whereas if he was more clear, sure, don't tell the full details of your pitch or the story bible or the media by which you're going to want to market this thing as. Save that for the business side of things. But tell the community what exactly you're trying to do. Because if this is Bionicle, which from his own words, it's one person for Bionicle or something like it in 2020, meaning that his preference is Bionicle, or something like it, probably meaning if Bionicle can't work, which means that Lego has to be involved in this conversation, because they own the rights to Bionicle. And if he's not interested in making sets, or if he doesn't want sets, he wants a new format, he doesn't want it to be as simple as a product that consumers buy, presumably his goal would be trying to figure out a way to get the rights, or for Lego to license the rights out to him. And then if that doesn't work, he'll just do his own thing. But at that point, you're going into something knowing that it's not going to work out, basically, versus if he just abandoned this thing of maybe it's Bionicle, maybe it's not, and just straight up said, I'm working on a spiritual successor. This would be 10 times simpler. It would be simpler from a legal business perspective, and it would be simpler from a community perspective, because people would make their peace with that idea. But because it's this middle ground, today, all this has been done, and we still don't know anything. All we know is that he doesn't sound like he's too interested in the physical products. Which at that point, if he's not interested in the physical products, it's not Bionicle. Because Lego's not going to bring it back if there aren't sets, because that's how they make their money. And they're not going to license the rights out to somebody else or sell him the rights because they have an interest in protecting their copyright on this thing. So really, the only piece of concrete information we kind of learned just paints it even more, an even more ambiguous picture, basically. If Bionicle is his primary goal, that's fine. If it isn't, and it's a similar yet different IP, then he's just being downright disingenuous. Because he's stoking the fires of hype for something that he legally won't be able to deliver on unless he gives in and is just like, yeah, sure, we'll make sets. Which at that point, I wonder what he was talking about today. He's banking on vague posting and this ethereal hype to make people okay with something that doesn't live up to their preconceived expectations. here's the facts. The Bionicle fandom will turn on him more than they haven't already if this doesn't end up being Bionicle now. Not me personally, but the vast amount of people will probably not be okay with him, essentially baiting everyone, tricking them into thinking that it's going to be Bionicle and then, it's not going to be. Whereas if he had just communicated from the beginning his vision in clear, easy to understand ways, the mature, passionate, creative people in the Bionicle fandom would be totally supportive. And I still am. My very first video of this whole thing way back when was supportive, because I said if Bionicle was ever to come back, it would be good to have somebody, behind it who knows what he's doing, who's an intelligent creator, who gets the community and who understands why people like it. And that's still true, even extended to the realm of a spiritual successor, which I'm still totally fine with. My advice to everybody, make your peace with that outcome. Make your peace with this being a spiritual successor to Bionicle, because I do not think that it is going to be Bionicle in any way, shape, or form, no matter the fact that Faber used the word today. It does not sound like his ideas and his visions and his goals mesh with what it would take to actually pitch a Bionicle revival to LEGO. Even if LEGO's one of the groups, he said groups plural, which means he's talking to other people, it just doesn't sound like it's going to jive. It could, but it's a maybe. At this point, we're essentially just waiting for coronavirus to roll over and, see what our world looks like once it's gone, and then he'll, restart this thing and get back to us, because by his own words, it's going to be radio silence until he knows for sure it's happening or not, and it's going to be a long time before that progresses, I think, with the way things are going. So, leave your thoughts on 14B, or I guess 14B 2020, in the comments section below or on the TTV message boards at board.ttvchannel.com. What do you think? Do you think this was cool? Do you think you're gonna enjoy what he's doing? Do you support the way he's handling this? Do you disagree with the way he's handling this? Do you still think it's gonna be Bionicle? Do you think it's gonna be a Bionicle G1 continuation, a G3, a new IP? Continue the discussion. I love hearing all the points. Stay tuned for a Knack and Jay. We're probably gonna rip into this in even more concrete detail. Thank you, King Sidorak, for archiving the live stream on YouTube. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I'm Meso. I'll see you all next time.